guys, welcome to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm excited to get together and shoot the shit with you, my man.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It's been a while. It feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
only been
a week off, but
yeah,
it feels like it. It's been a long week.
Yeah, well, as normal, you were off gallivanting somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
I
in
often
this
am.
country.
I'm very rarely in this country.
No, you're often in sunnier climes.
I've cultivated a real image.
Yeah, of a Tory who likes kids and travels travels a lot.
That's God telling you that I don't actually like kids. You shouldn't blaspheme.
You notice that's not the bit I choked up on.
It was at the travelling.
It was the travelling, although you do legitimately
God damn my right wing views.
Yeah.
It's my right. It's all of the other stuff. It's like the TV I watch and some of the books that I read and stuff.
Yeah.
They do.
Are they a bit Tory?
They can be a bit Tory.
You do like Only Connect. That's
I
definitely.
love Only Connect. Oh my God, it's
Leanne
so
likes
good.
Only Connect, so
Smart woman. Always rated her.
but I feel like that's a Tory show.
Yeah, it's a bit highbrow. But it's not. But it's to the uninitiated.
Is Grand Designs Tory?
Yeah.
I
like a bit of Grand Designs.
I love a bit of Grand Designs.
Love a bit of Grand Designs.
What else is Tory?
Just that sort of stuff, isn't it?
Escape to the Country?
Anything where you've either had to have an education or some kind of capital. So, yeah, anything like property shows.
Yeah.
Apart from some really low-end property shows.
There was some intellectual like quiz show that was on the other night that my mum and Leanne were watching, and I was just like, I'm nowhere near.
What was it?
I can't remember what it was called. It had very Only Connect vibes, if I'm being honest.
Who hosted it? Do you remember?
Oh, don't.
No,
I don't. I really don't. But it was very similar, but it was even drier, if that was possible.
She's very dry with it, Victoria Coren Mitchell.
But
very dry. I mean, the fact that Victoria Coren Mitchell's involved. I know she's married to David Mitchell, and look, he's well spoken, and well educated, but he's relatively common. But Giles Coren and her brother, her dad, are all quite. They're all quite.
She's definitely
they're all quite Tory.
Conservative vote.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah. She definitely
loves Boris.
She definitely doesn't like Jeremy Corbyn.
How do you reckon that works though? Because I have a feeling David Mitchell would be more left leaning. I could be completely wrong in that.
Don't know. I've got no intention of dating a Tory. I've got no intention of doing the field work.
I don't know what I'd say. I'd be like, mate, we've got to have a conversation about this.
Yeah. Do you just hate people?
She lives in Chelsea. Like, what's happening?
I thought for half a second, I thought you were talking about Leanne.
No.
And I was like, I'm sorry, we know some very different people.
She definitely doesn't live in Chelsea. No.
About as far away as she can get. Not geographically.
No, but
class-wise.
In terms of the outlook of the area as well, like what people think of the place, it's
very, very polar ends.
Yeah. It's the Lion King bit, isn't it? Where it was like,
yeah, what's that over there?
That dark bit over there? It's Croydon.
That's where Leanne lives.
That's the dark place, Croydon. We don't go there. Yeah, that's Croydon for you.
I can't say if any royals have been there. Lambeth, I know royals been to the borough of Lambeth.
Yeah, that's a weird area because I've worked in Lambeth, and like one side of the road is literally like quite wealthy, and the other is council estate, and it's a really bizarre place. So yeah, that's
not what we're here to talk about, is it? We're just here to shoot the shit.
We are really.
Few topics.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and it is football.
Yeah, no, it's cleared up. Oh no, football.
It is football, but like, because we don't do football episodes very often, I don't want to make them Palace-centric when we do them. So I wanted to have a conversation about Palace if you don't. And also, Ash isn't a Palace fan, so he's not particularly interested in talking about Palace, I would imagine. And my first question would be, are you, like myself, traditionally a supporter of Steve Parish?
Yeah.
What do you think about how things are going at the moment?
I think there's a really interesting split with the fans, and I do think I'm not going to be. I don't want to stir up any kind of extra trouble, but I do think there is generally a split between younger fans who weren't really old enough. I'm not saying they didn't know, but they weren't really old enough to know
understand what was going on.
The administration stuff, either in 2010 or in 2000.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't. I was old enough to enjoy football in 2000, but I wasn't old enough to know about the business side of it. And I had no idea how close the club came to not existing.
It was literally ours, wasn't it?
Both times, yeah. Both on both occasions. So there is a split, and there's kind of like, oh, we can't just keep settling for a Premier League, and then the older ones are kind of like, bloody Premier League, golden days, you ain't never known it better. I do think there's a compromise in there. I do think we should be ambitious, but for me, and this is the thing that I always say, ambition, you've got to think big picture.
Yeah.
Season on season, just staying in the Premier League at the moment, is that enough? For me, yes, it is, because we're looking at the stadium build.
Yeah.
We've just finished the academy and the training ground, so we've got a Category 1 academy.
Yeah.
The training ground is now absolutely top quality.
And a proven track record of delivering talent.
Which immediately means, A, we can attract more talent, not just to put into the first team and be like, hey, homegrown heroes, but to sell on to lower leagues, Championship clubs, League One clubs, get an income coming in.
Yeah.
It also means that it's easier to attract players in transfer, come and look at our training ground, come and work with us, so you get all that stuff. You're going to increase the revenue, you're going to increase the profile of the club by increasing by improving the stadium. But all of your funds kind of have to be into that rather than into the squad. So for me, I do think we are being ambitious, but I think we're being
in the
long-term ambitious. Yeah. We're not just going, what does the next 2 years, 3 years look like? We're going, what do the next 10, 20, 30 years look like? So I think Steve Parish gets a bad rap for his lack of ambition, quote unquote. I don't see that. I think people are thinking too short-term. And at the end of the day, we've had two. We've been to a cup final in 2016, cup semi-final a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We've had little runs here and there. We've had a 10th place finish. All right, you're going back a while.
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
I think the criticism of Parish is harsh. I think, like you, overall, I think he's done a very good job. I think to have kept
He
Palace
stays within the means, more or less.
In the Premier League for 10 years is an incredible achievement, considering where they were when he took over the club. And bear in mind, he didn't actually want to be the owner of the club long term anyway. I think it comes down to, really, as a fan, what you want from the club. If you just want ambition, then like the raw ambition of what you see from Newcastle or some of these other teams, unless you've got the real money to back it up, it's just not going to happen.
Year on year since we've been in the Premier League, not to play the woe is us, we're the tiny club. We're not a tiny club.
No.
But in terms of the money being spent by our competitors, quote unquote, it used to be when we first joined, there really were 4 or 5 teams that had big, decent money.
And the rest were all sort of on the same.
Yeah. Now there's probably 6 or 7 teams that are spending big money, and another 4 or 5 that are spending. There will probably
only be one team in the league next season that will have a smaller budget than Palace, and that's probably Luton, because they are, to my knowledge, aren't backed by a billionaire.
Well, we are going to be in the bottom sort of 5 or 6 clubs.
And like some people see that as a knock on Parish, but he doesn't have that money. And then I see the arguments of, well, we do have wealthy investors, but the only way they're going to open up their checkbook to that level, which, by the way, they've not even proved they'll do elsewhere. The American owners we have are known for bolstering the finances, but not free spending in their other sports franchises. And the other guy, I think his name's John Textor or something like that, he's currently getting done for 80 million in the French league. He needs to find a ridiculous amount of money to save. I think, is it Lyon?
Yeah.
So the money isn't there. So again, that could be a knock against Parish in the sense of he got the wrong investors in. But again, I don't know if that's what, in terms of like what you were saying, in terms of what he's invested in, the infrastructure he's putting in place. Once those things are paid for, it will look even better. And I actually don't think, even if Palace got relegated, it would be like it would for other clubs, that disastrous. We don't massively inflate our players' wages.
No.
We, as you say, work very much within our means. And Palace don't have a right to be a top half Europa League or even Champions League football team. And the only way you get that now is by having a nation state back in your football club.
I do think I genuinely look. I might prove them to be wrong, in which case I won't switch full to the Parish out brigade, but I will see more of their argument if once the stadium's developed, we still don't invest money in the squad. Then I would kind of say,
what would you say about the fact
enough.
that the stadium development has taken a hell of a lot longer than was promised?
I mean, we've just, at the start we were talking about grand designs. Any project, double the money, double the time. With this
especially
one in particular,
since post-pandemic,
because it's not just residential planning permission you've got to get through,
they've got the
but through the
of
Sainsbury's, but through
door.
the commercial complications. So you've essentially got to go through 2 planning permissions and then get them to meet and find some kind of middle ground between them all. So it is a long one.
Yeah.
but it's getting ever closer that I think the current estimate, and it's not just one of those ambitious, I think the realistic goal now is that they'll start the build at the end of this season.
Yeah.
So I do think, I mean, they've already marked it out. If you go to the ground,
you can see
at the end of this season, they've got it marked out in spray paint on the floor.
Okay, what's
going to be where, what needs to be taken down, constructors' marks. So it's obviously, at the very least, it's being priced up by construction crews. It's not long in the distance.
I think what's happening to Palace is just an inevitability with the amount of money that's in football currently. There is a good chance that Palace are priced out of the league, not because Steve Parish hasn't got any ambition, because when we first got into the Premier League, we did try and make statement signings, and to be honest with you, they didn't really work out. So there's no guarantee of, like, if you throw 30 million at a striker,
that's going to come in and bring you 30 goals. Good. Yeah.
And it's not just at Palace. Like, look at West Ham, year after year, end up spending 30 to 40 million on a striker, and it just doesn't work out.
Arguably, though, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. West Ham have just won a European Cup.
They have, but it wasn't that £30 million striker that won the European Cup. It was a £18 million winger.
No, and having Declan Rice also. But I do think there's that's what I think on it.
What do you think of the Hodgson extension?
I think I now buy the rumours that we're going to go for Southgate after the Euros. I think that was on the card, and then when it was like Hodgson for another year, it was like, okay, whoever we want clearly isn't available.
Yeah. Do you think they've had those discussions then? Do you reckon they've actually spoken to Southgate?
I mean, Southgate has been to the training ground a few times. He's been to the games, obviously, to
watch
games.
Not unusual as the England manager, though.
He was there. He's been there both times when they opened the academy and the training ground. He was there, obviously, as a sort of legacy player and the current England manager.
Yeah.
So he's been around.
How would you feel about that appointment? Because it's still technically at the moment quite pie in the sky. Because say, like, and let's hope this is the case, that come the next tournament, he's got a trophy in hand. You'd probably argue his sight should be higher than
Palace.
I
don't hate it. I'm not sold on it. I think he's come a long way as a manager to where he was.
Yeah.
My biggest concerns are he started off, certainly in England, he started off really well, really ambitious.
Yeah.
And really different, mixing it up. And then after the tournament, when it was like, okay, that didn't go how we wanted it to go, it was like, we better defend. And it's like, no, look at all the attacking talent that you've got. Find the balance, sure, but you've got to get the ball forward. You've got to play it more. You've got to take more chances. Get the ball in behind more. You've got the likes of Saka and Sterling running in.
We've got some of the best attacking talent we've had for a long time.
Who is very good at dropping deep and switching the ball up play. You see what he does with Son and whatever at Tottenham.
Yeah.
You've got to start getting more balls in behind. You've got to go a bit more direct as well, because sometimes we don't go direct enough. But again, you've got Kane, who's an excellent target man.
Yeah.
So for sure, there feels like there's wasted moments. And when we play lesser nations, that's what annoys me. I think when we play the likes of Italy or Spain or Germany, we've historically done very well. We've got good results out of those games.
Yeah.
In many ways, he sort of is fit to be a Palace manager. Because when we play the big boys, it's like, right, game raised here, lads. Let's not fuck around. Let's go in, dig in deep, hit them on the counter, and and you get, oh yeah, we're getting some good results here. Yeah. And then you play a lesser nation, and it's like, right, boys, free holding mids, and you're like, what are you talking about? This team have got one professional footballer, and he plays in like the French 3rd division. How the fuck are we tackling this like they're a serious nation?
Yeah.
It's like, let's just put 10 strikers on and let Jordan Pickford sit on a deck chair for most of the game. So I do see the frustration.
Yeah.
How would you feel? How do you feel about the Hodgson thing as well?
The Hodgson thing, I mean, I get it. It's difficult. He had a good spell in charge of the club, so it's hard to argue with someone that's winning. It concerned me when I heard that he didn't actually want to stay in place. He wanted to retire. Now, obviously...
Like Zavezza and whatever say good things about him.
And I think he's a bloody good coach. I think he's good at his job, and I think that. But there's also a reason why we let him go in the first place. It feels like, well, it is. It's a placeholder this season. Let's just get through it. There's a good chance we're not going to keep Zaha. So we need a manager that we think that no matter what is going to keep us in the division. So in that sense, it's a good appointment. But it was just concerning to hear that we couldn't attract any of the managers we were looking at.
Well, I don't know who we were looking at, in all honesty.
Apparently we approached Brendan Rodgers, and he turned
Absolute
us down
mistake.
for Celtic.
I wouldn't have gone for him.
Neither would I, but I understand why you went to Celtic over Palace, to be honest, Champions League football.
And he had a history there.
Yeah.
Even if it's ended badly.
But there was I think there was an Austrian manager who manages in
wasn't
Germany.
Adolf Hutter, was it?
It might be. He's gone somewhere else.
Very dangerous name, that.
Why you name your kid Adolf, I don't know.
When your surname's Hutter.
When you're playing with fire, aren't you?
Literally, your surname is.
Yeah.
You know, come on, man.
Yeah, it's not. It's one letter or a couple of letters off.
Yeah.
And I think there was another one, Paulo Fonseca.
Fonseca, yeah, okay.
But apparently we couldn't quite. And basically, from what I heard, it was the same issue with all of them. They all wanted to know they were going to have a certain amount of transfer budget.
Yeah, and it just weren't going to happen. And that I understand.
But I also don't think we're going to have the budget next season.
No, but Roy's happy to do it.
Yeah, for one more. But I mean, like, I'm talking about the season after next season. I don't think we're going to have the money then. So what are we going to do then?
Southgate might come in and say, maybe. Do you know what? I've got... You know, the academy's developed for a couple of years. I'm happy to look at academy players.
I am willing to accept that there's a chance he wins a tournament between now and then. And if he does, I'll eat my shirt in all the criticism I've ever levelled it. Well, actually, maybe not, because I still think we should have done better previously. But if he can prove to me between now and then that he's learnt tactically from the mistakes he's made previously, then I would have less reservations about him being the Palace manager.
Yeah, my biggest problem, I think,
if
with
he
Southgate
fails to win the tournament between now and then, I think I'm going to be quite...
For all the criticisms I've levelled at him, my biggest problem with Southgate is that we seem, in the big games, in the big moments, we seem scared.
Yeah.
And we got to the final, for example, playing a certain way, and then in the final, we suddenly stopped playing that way. And it was like, why? I understand playing the team and whatever, but it was like, why? No, we were having such success with it.
Play to your strengths rather than...
It just didn't look like us. Same in the World Cup when we got to the semis. We just sort of ran out of steam against Croatia. We didn't have any fight in us.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. But God, I hope we don't get Southgate.
Who would you get? Obviously, we don't know who's going to be available a year from now.
I mean, I wanted Potter, to be honest with you.
I don't. See, someone else we know wanted Potter, and I don't.
Look, I understand the reservations because De Zerbi's gone in at Brighton and taken it a lot further than he did.
He plays good football, but they don't score goals.
No, but I don't know. I feel like on paper, and this might piss a lot of people off, some of our attacking options are a lot better than what they have.
Maybe. I don't know. I just don't. I think on paper we're very similar squads, us and Brighton. And in fact, on paper, I'll go we are similar squad, but they are coached better currently, and they are playing better.
Yeah.
And as a team, much as it pains me to say it, they are the better team. They are a lot better. Well, not a lot, but comfortably. There's a gap.
In terms of, I think from everything from top to bottom, it's inarguable.
There is a gap
to say they're not in a superior position.
But on paper, player for player, I think we're similar.
Yeah, I would still say personally on paper, I think Eze is better than any player they have. In terms of raw talent. Eze is one of the best players in the league. Obviously, I'm saying that with Palace goggles. Yeah. But I just...
The things I see that boy do on the ball, the comfort, he glides across the pitch.
How he struggled to get a
game
professional
time. He got rejected by several different clubs,
until QPR finally took him on.
We've signed his brother on
a
short-term deal. If it's another
he's
Jonathan Benteke, what a player have we got?
But if he's even half as good as his...
Our under-23s are going to be very lucky.
Yeah. But no, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think we're going to be in danger this season. I'm not particularly
Doesn't feel like it, but you never know.
No. And look, I still don't think if Palace go down, that's necessarily a reason to ask for new ownership, but that's just me.
No.
And I think there'll be a lot of Palace fans that disagree.
Like I said, you can always come back, but we could be coming back with a nicer stadium.
Yeah.
We've already built the ground, the academy and training ground.
No, I think a lot of the stepping stones that we need to improve.
But I do hear and understand the criticisms of the youth.
Oh look, absolutely. Like the optics of keeping Roy for another season isn't necessarily a positive one from the outside, especially considering the fact it was well known he didn't want to stay for another season. That doesn't help.
That's not on anyone though. That's not just like, I don't want to stay at Palace. He just wants to go home.
No, but
let me go home. He says
that if 10 games into the season we've only won a couple of games, people are going to question: is his heart in it?
I don't think from all of his career, I don't think you could. I think he's earned the right to say you could never question.
No, but I think
whether
some
he was
would.
backed in a
I
project.
think some would.
Of course they would. Football fans are fickle and they're quick to judge. But I do think I don't think that's ever an issue.
Fickle Palace people, I've not got into because I don't really know how I feel about him. But I started watching a lot of Simon Jordan clips, and I wanted to know what you thought about Simon Jordan in general.
He epitomises for me, as an owner, wanker. as a TalkSport personality,
I'm probably asking the wrong type of fan that question.
He epitomises that TalkSport thing for me. It's let me just talk utter unfiltered shit so that it can do the rounds on social media, and then people can engage, share the clips, get involved, listen to the show, ring up. It's perfect for baiting people in and getting the content out there. Yeah. What do you? Well, obviously you've been watching of it.
I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't a Palace fan when all of that happened. To be fair, it was only when I became a season ticket holder. I think 2 years after that. I think it was the second season after the takeover by Parish and Co. that I became a season ticket holder. But I found it interesting when he was trying to defend his time at Palace, because he was like, I wrote off 50 million of my own money, because someone's like, you went bankrupt at Palace, and he was like, no. And he said, but also to lose a lot of money, you got to make a lot of money. And I sort of respected that point.
Well, I remember.
But what he brushes over is the fact that to have wiped off 50 million of your own money. And he's right. One of the things I thought was fair in what he said.
This is going to be a great segue, by the way.
He took nothing. He sold the club for basically nothing. Yeah, he sold the stadium for basically nothing.
To be honest,
as reasonable as he could have been considering.
I just remember,
much he'd rung up.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't have nice things. I realise I'm starting to sound like old Tory man going, young people, they shouldn't be buying things for themselves, shouldn't be treating themselves, and then moaning that they got no money. But I do remember that, a couple of years before the financial troubles, he actually fucking bought himself a new villa in Spain, I think it was, and it was a proper fancy 1.2, 1.3 million. And to us, bearing in mind where we were at that time, Championship, transfer fees and wages hadn't ballooned like they have now. Ronaldo hadn't, it must have been a couple of years before, because Ronaldo hadn't gone for 80 million or whatever to Real Madrid. So transfer fees hadn't leapt out the sky. And to where we were like 1.2 million. You're like, that's like three decent level Championship players. That's like two top Championship players. Fuck you doing spunking it on a villa, he went Parish then. Yeah. But, fuck you doing spunking it on a villa, Jordan. We've got a squad here desperate for players.
Yeah. I think what perhaps I sympathised a little bit with was that from his side of the story, I think he sees himself as someone who was a fan of the club, genuinely threw money at it to try and make it successful, didn't make the right decisions, and sadly almost took the club out of business.
Nodes really fucked us, because Nodes was the one when we had the trouble in 2000. Yeah. And Nodes, to the best of my knowledge,
didn't he sell the stadium?
Well, he sold all the houses around it. So when the stadium was bought, the ownership also included the rim of houses around it. Right. And traditionally they'd give them out to academy players and stuff, and families and stuff like that. As digs, and then sold them off. So what it meant was, when it came to redevelop the ground, as we've been looking at for the last 10 years, what if we still own those houses? It would have been really easy, because we go, well, all that land's ours anyway. Yeah. So we're going to knock that down. We don't now we have to negotiate with the owners of the houses. So that really fucked us from a development perspective.
Yeah. What made me laugh was I heard he was being linked with buying Coventry.
Brilliant.
And I was like, haven't those guys been through enough? They finally having the most stable period of their existence for the last 10, 15 years. And Simon Jordan's like, it's time. And apparently the other person who was interested was Mike Ashley. I mean,
man, they can't catch a break. They cannot catch a break. Miss out on promotion to the Premier League and then get eyed up by the two worst owners that could have possibly existed in the Premier League era.
I think what I liked about Simon Jordan, it's the only thing I liked about him, was
good hair.
Well, yeah, his hair's all right, but was
just, be the price he paid for it.
Whoever it was he was arguing with, and he was arguing with a boxer on one of them, and Eddie Hearn and some
he was probably an expert.
But he doesn't back down, and I sort of respected the fact he was quite knowledgeable on all sorts of things. But no, I can understand why Palace fans hate him.
Yeah. But that's a good segue, though, sort of losing money and stuff.
Yeah.
Hit the button, my man, because let's talk briefly about Nigel Farage. Okay. Shall we?
Yeah.
So what do you make of the Nigel Farage thing?
The thing is, as soon as we had someone who texted us to be like, I don't agree with his politics, but it's too far, freezing his bank accounts, and I was like, well, let me Google what happened, and immediately found a list of allegations against him as to why his bank accounts
links
could
to
be
Russia
frozen.
and stuff. Do you want to know the real reason it's been?
His money's fell below a certain value to be held at Coutts.
Coutts, so I'm sure you know this, but I'm going to say anyway for the benefit of the listener and stuff. Yeah, and that's why people go there, because you can be like, I bank with the same bank as the Queen. Well, not anymore, but same bank as the King.
I actually knew someone who had a Coutts account.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, the Coutts threshold is she does have a Coutts account. I don't know why you phrased it. That's like that suggestive way. You know we're rich.
Yeah, but the audience might not have picked up on it yet.
The subtlety is not lost on them, I don't think.
No.
You have to invest. Either you have to invest £1 million with Coutts with their investment portfolios, or you have to have savings of £3 million. That's quite a lot of money. Probably not in today's mega rich standards, but that's still an awful lot of money.
It's a decent threshold.
And they offered him. So the Coutts is owned by NatWest.
Yeah.
And they offered him a
NatWest
account and said, look, sorry, you don't meet the threshold for Coutts, but here's a regular branch account. But just come out straight away and be like, politically, and what was made me laugh was all the right wingers, the hardcore right wingers, by the way, the Lawrence Foxes of this world, sort of coming out and going, we have to stand up now, because if they can get Nigel, what happens when they come for us? And it's like, what kind of links to Russia have you got that we don't know about?
Well, the thing is, apparently there is genuinely at the moment, some banks are just closing people's accounts and not giving a reason. That is something that's going on at the moment. But I don't think it's a political hit job on people to try and deliberately fuck people because of their political views.
But they didn't look into it. They didn't look into the claims. They just jumped on it and went, right.
Well, of course they did. It's a nice little... I don't expect anyone to give it a cursory
I didn't
glance.
have this in the thing, but what do you make about the Supreme Court, who are just basically fucking as much shit up as they can before they all die in America, deciding that it was okay and legally for businesses to refuse to serve customers based on them being gay? Because it's quite funny to me is that what happens is that kind of almost can backfire a little bit.
Yeah.
They say, okay, it's legal, it's legal, it's fine, you can stop serving customers because you're gay. But then a lot of businesses can do exactly that and go, well, we're going to close your account. Be like, why? Like, well,
you're gay.
No, not that you're gay. The other way, they go, well, you don't believe in gay rights. That we're actually quite strong on that. We have gay employees. We don't want to proceed to be backing them, so we're going to close your account and we don't want to work with you anymore. It can kind of work both ways a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear about that they'd done that. Sadly, it doesn't surprise me.
No, they're going backwards on abortion, backwards on gay rights.
I don't really get it, why there's this race to the bottom on things at the moment. I don't really understand. I thought we were past the gay thing. Do you know what I mean? In terms of gay being an issue, I thought we come a lot further than that. But I don't know. I don't know how we solve it. I don't know what the route back is. I think it's just something you have to constantly fight against. I think what we're being told
all
is
rights that you've won, have to keep fighting for them.
Yeah, we can't rest on our laurels. We can't get complacent. We can't.
The only people who can really are me and you.
Yeah,
straight white men. We've got very few. Our rights are really not under threat from anyone.
Well, unless you listen to those wokerati women. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I found out the other day where these self-proclaimed incels on the internet.
Yeah.
I found out what that stood for the other day. I had no idea.
Involuntary celibate.
Yeah.
Did you
I
not
had
know
no
that?
idea.
No, fair enough.
It's
surprised.
Completely random.
Yeah.
Well, I
don't know why you would.
I kept getting called one.
So they call themselves incels.
Yeah.
So they're all saying that they can't get laid.
They're basically saying like the wokerati, the feminists,
are stopping them
are like
laid.
they don't want, they want weak bitch, pussy ass men. They don't want these alphas like me kind of thing, or nice guys. They'll do that thing where like, I'm a nice guy, but girls don't want nice guys. And it's like, bro, if you just spent as much time working on your personality as you did on moaning about being an incel or living the incel life,
things would improve.
You could probably just get laid. Like at the very least, you could get a finger in.
Is that your advice to men? Just Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
And you might get a fingering.
Yeah.
No, I like it. It's a good.
Yeah.
It's
a good mantra.
There was something I was going to segue onto. It might be a bit insensitive after mentioning of fingering.
Was it a... No, go on.
It's a member of parliament.
Excellent.
Is it Mhaira Black?
Oh, Mhaira
Black. I couldn't decide how you pronounce that. I thought it might be a Moira.
Do you remember us discussing her when she first got elected?
I do. And
she gave her first speech in the House of Commons.
And it's one of the reasons why I brought her up, because I just wanted to say, we're going to miss her.
Yeah, Crossing Swords salutes you,
we
Mhaira
do
Black.
Indeed.
If you go to YouTube, you can see that actual
one of the rare
salute.
Examples of quite a straightforward, honest, outspoken politician.
Serving their constituents.
And we could do with a hell of a lot more. And someone that's basically said that they've been pushed. Now, look, I think there's probably a bit of opportunism in the sense that the future for the SNP doesn't look particularly bright at the moment.
Well, I also think,
but I also don't disbelieve that she's become very disillusioned with.
Also,
politics.
I think what's Mhaira Black is, because she was like 19 or 20 when she got elected,
20,
so she was really young. So if you think back to where you and I were when we were 20 to where we are now,
I couldn't have been an MP.
So she was elected in 2015.
Yeah.
So she was 20 then 28. Be fair, you were a very different person. Your priorities are different. So she's
absolutely.
probably at the start. She was probably all like, right, let's fight for the people. Let's get in there and be an activist and be really involved. Now she's probably like, just be with my family, just focus on the important things. I think she mentioned in her retirement, whatever you call it, her not standing, that she's got her partner and she wants to spend more time with her and just kind of enjoy life.
I think also more. Just politics is probably very mucky and shit, and I think she was being genuine that she'd had enough.
Yeah, it's very weird. I imagine it's very tiring playing the game of politics.
Speaking about the SNP for a second, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the SNP is close to like not existing anymore.
Yeah,
over 650 grand going missing. And
it's
then
what happens when politicians are actually held to account. Is that what you were kind of leading into?
Basically, because I was going to go, do you know how much our government lost just during COVID?
Can I guess? Can I genuinely
afternoon.
guess?
Yeah.
Okay, so 37 billion on the test and trace, 20 million on the 40 million was it on the Michelle Motors? I'm going to go in for 55 billion pounds.
Not even close.
More.
100. More.
Billion. 150 billion.
More.
200 billion.
More.
300 billion.
More.
You better just tell me at this point.
360 billion. And that's just the estimate, because the records and accounts of the government are as such that... and this was off of the Parliament's committee website, by the way, that I got these figures. And
it's the great thing about...
They said the level of work that went on basically means that they won't probably ever know the full...
It's a great thing about the government.
The fraud and failure.
And particularly this government that we've seen, this Tory government from the last general election, is that a lot of the stuff that you throw at them and they go ludicrous. It's like, we've got all those figures and facts from your own... from your own people. They came from your own websites and your own committees.
Yeah.
So are you saying
but
that
not
your
a single
people...
person's going to face...
They're like, those numbers... No.
Matt Hancock was able to go out and earn 250 grand or whatever it was to go sit in a jungle for
pennies
a
in
couple
the
of
kitty,
weeks.
really, isn't it? For 360
Boris
billion.
Johnson's gone on to earn 5 million since leaving the role of Prime Minister, just doing speeches.
Yeah, his Russian's getting quite good, I hear.
Rishi Sunak apparently still earning money from Russia while everything's going on. He received a payment of 5 million for his shares.
Did you see Rishi Sunak getting taken to task by Chris Bryant?
Do you know what annoys me about
one, I've only seen a short clip, but it was just so good when that bit when he's like, well, you're making recommendations off of the find. He said, but then you're not making recommendations to other MPs. You're saying it to one, but not to another.
Yeah,
and he was like, well, I haven't read it. And he went, you haven't read it? And he was like, well, not cover to cover. And it was like, you're kind of like, fair enough. Look, a busy man.
Do you know a comment they cut out of that clip?
Go on.
Was that he follows it up with, it's 3 pages.
Yeah, no, that's what I was about to say. Because when he goes, no, this is the thing. When he goes, well, not cover to cover, in your mind, you're thinking, well, fair enough. As the Prime Minister, you're like, these Commons reports can be 30 to 40 pages. You haven't got time to sit down and read through all of that. Yeah. So, you just think. And then he just kind of goes, it's 3 pages. And it's like, bro, that's not good.
No,
that's not good.
No, it looks somehow worse than Dominic Raab at a meeting saying, I've read the brief summary of the Good Friday Agreement.
Yeah, I've glossed it.
Yeah, I've glanced at it. I've used it as a reference point, I think was his exact words.
Yeah, somewhere it's propping up a bookcase.
Yeah. And like he's just finding any excuse at the moment to not
do anything,
be held,
to not act.
It's funny because he said these 5 things are things you can hold me to account on. I will hold my hands up if I fail and, face the music. But he's not. He's avoiding going to PMQs. He's avoiding votes. He's just not leading in any way.
Yeah, it was Oliver Dowden today, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Rishi Sunak was at a 75th anniversary.
Oh, for the NHS. Yeah. That it's
taking
sort of like
selfies with staff,
sort of like
colleagues.
One of them big game hunters that poses for pictures with lions. It's like, really?
Yeah,
really.
I got to be honest. Part of me judged the people taking photos with him a little bit. I was like, why would you, as a working class person who works in a hospital, want to be anywhere near a Tory Prime Minister that's played an active
the amount of people that work on
I
agree, but the amount of people in the NHS, at least 6 of them have got to be Tory.
Like if he turned up at my work, which the likelihood is very low, but if he did, and they asked, "Do you want to have a photo with him?" I'd be like, "It's the absolute last thing I want to do." I'm not going to be horrible to him, but I'm not going to go anywhere near him.
Can I hit him?
Well, no, because then they take that a bit more seriously, and I might get arrested for threatening the Prime Minister.
I think you've gone beyond threatening if you've hit him. Oh, but I see. But if you're just talking
about hitting him. You said ask them
if you're just hitting him. You're right. Don't ask. Do then ask for apology.
Yeah, I'll take a selfie with him.
Just go. I was reaching out, and I didn't realise how close he was.
Yeah. I was going to fist bump him.
Look, sure. When I reached out a second time, I also didn't realise that he was still there. I thought my punch would have moved him. Not punch, my reach.
Why is he afraid of Sir Keir Starmer though? Because he shouldn't be.
Doesn't do anything. He's afraid of everything.
Yeah,
he just doesn't want to act.
Like Sir Keir Starmer hasn't really held him to account over anything. He's tried but failed, and I don't really know how he's failing, but he is.
No. But I'll tell you what. Hit the button again. Rich people hiding money, ladies and gentlemen. The Captain Tom saga continues.
What's going on? I heard something about a swimming pool.
They used, allegedly, but there's already a lot of investigation over their use of the fund. Have they used the
money he raised?
There's a lot of investigation over the how they've used the money he's raised, But they built this £1.2 million spa and swimming pool complex on the grounds of the house that they inherited from him.
Maybe it's going to be a facility.
And the council have basically said,
people.
The council said, well, you built that illegally, so you've got to knock it down. And there's a lot of talk about where the money for it came from.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit icky, isn't it?
So icky.
It's what he fought for, though.
It's what he would have wanted.
It's what he would have wanted. His last words were, build a pool.
Fuck the poor. Look at my house. Do you think I care about the poor?
No.
Look at this. I could walk around the garden. It could take me a year.
You say that all the time when you're at home, don't you?
Yeah. Although I'm not walking around the garden to raise money for the poor.
No.
Or the
Just
NHS.
Get on your golf cart.
Yeah. I'd get the butler to take me round.
Yeah.
He could do the walking. Raise the money.
You get on one of those like sort of Asian bikes where you just sit in the back.
Yeah. The little
around the garden.
Oh, it's going to annoy me now. What they're called? Tuk-tuk? No, not tuk-tuks.
No, tuk-tuks, the little freewheeler.
Rickshaw.
That's it.
A rickshaw.
Yeah, I like the fact I used Asian bike.
Well, I got it.
You knew what I meant.
I got it.
Is that racially insensitive? I felt like
no. They're typically tourist traps in Asian countries.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Let me ask you. This is something I did want to discuss. So there's a thing happening in streaming where streaming services are removing content, original content, and a lot of the time it hasn't even been out that long, so it's very difficult for it to build up.
Okay.
And also, so let me give you a prime example. So after Paramount announced that they were cancelling, so they recently released a series, I don't know if you're aware of it, Rise of the Pink Ladies. It's like a Grease spin-off.
Okay.
Grease the musical,
an origin story,
not Grease
for
the substance. Yeah. They did series 1. It went out to kind of like mixed acclaim. It's literally only been out, a few months, if that kind of thing.
And they've just ripped it off.
They've cancelled the second series, so we're not going to give it a second series, which is fair enough. And then they're removing it from the platform.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, how are you meant to give it a chance to grow? Also, Disney have announced plans that in their merger with Hulu, they're going to remove a load of content to make space for it, including a film called Crater, so today is the start. We're in the first couple of weeks of July, week of July. This came out on the 12th of May, and they're removing it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things for me, thoughts on it. One, is it all related to the Writers Guild of America strike at the moment, because they're striking over
do you
streaming?
reckon they've lost rights to stuff?
Well, no, the writers are streaming for residuals.
Okay.
Right, that's the main driving point for these strikes. Is they're saying, well, streaming services are all these shows.
They get an ongoing income
sort of saying
from our stuff.
All these shows that we wrote, particularly for the older shows that we wrote 20 years ago or whatever, we never knew that they were going to end up on streaming services getting watched millions of times, and yet
But they would get TV.
But we're not getting paid for it.
Picked up again, wouldn't they?
But it's like, so if TV do a rerun, it's in the contract. We get residuals. That might not be much, but streaming, there's no thing for it. And all the new ones, the residuals in the contracts are really small. So that's the main driving point for the creators. But I'm wondering if they remove stuff, they don't owe the writers anything, because
that might be one of the reasons.
Maybe they're looking at a resolution with the writers and then going, okay, well, if we're going to give you more money, what we're not going to do is air your stuff. Fucking deal with that. And I wonder whether that's part of it.
Or maybe they're taking it down and saying, well, fine, we just won't use your stuff.
Yeah, but also then there's a thing of, when Netflix came out, it had no competitors. In the streaming service, it really didn't have many competitors, if any.
It did initially, actually. Blockbuster.
Well,
believe it or not, Blockbuster actually did start a streaming service.
But it never really got off the ground, the streaming service. Certainly not over here.
It had its knees cut off from underneath it because there was a corporate raider who bought a huge chunk of the company and overrode the chairman at the time. And actually Netflix, because of its business model, it's a loss-leading company that doesn't make a profit. It's just one of those.
But this is what I was about to say. So because Netflix kind of didn't have any competitors in the early days, and it looked to be a really good business model from the outside.
Yeah.
So therefore, all the companies kind of went, well, we'll just do our own version of it, not realising that A, it was a loss-leading model, and B, that actually the reason it's even doing as well as it is because it's in a non-competitive market. If you dilute the market and you create competition, they're going to make even less. You're going to make even less. I'm wondering whether all that plays a part.
And the problem we're going to end up with as well, and it's already happening, is most people won't be able to afford to have all the streaming services.
No, and it's already heading that way. People don't.
Apple TV, I don't pay for that. There's Paramount,
I paid for Apple to watch
Max,
Ted Lasso, and then I cancelled it.
All sorts of stuff you could.
So I literally had Apple for like 2 months.
And I haven't done the maths, but I'd imagine you're probably looking at what, £60-70 a month to have all the different streaming services, and they're only increasing. I think with the writers' stuff, you're probably going through a similar thing to the music industry when Spotify became prevalent, in terms of the big sticking point was the royalties for artists. How's that going to work? So I think they're probably just going through a very similar situation there. Netflix, as I said, is not a loss-leading company, and they've done that deliberately because their main aim is to create as much original content as possible, so that eventually they're not reliant on anyone else's content, that it is exclusively Netflix's.
Which is terrible, because that's not why people bought it.
Well, no, it's not. But I also don't think that works for any other company. And I don't think that's what any other company's trying to emulate. But they are trying to get as much on their platforms as possible to attract as many people as possible. And I don't think, like, the fact Netflix is putting restrictions on password sharing and things like that, they're taking away what made their service
other than Elon Musk and
reliable
Twitter,
or what people wanted in general.
Other than Elon Musk and Twitter, I've never known an industry to shoot itself in the foot as much as the streaming service. I've never known an industry to listen to what their customers want, and listen to why their customers are signing up to them, and then do everything they can to ruin that. Yeah. I just wondered what you made of it all. The removing it. Imagine if you were in a film, particularly if you were in it, even if you were just watching it, and then it's on there for like 2 months. And it gets pulled down. It's like you spent millions of dollars on this thing, but you've decided it's more cost effective.
I mean, it's not ideal. I just think, I reckon they'll resolve it. I don't think it will be an issue for too long. And also, I think most people are sort of used to the idea of stuff disappearing off of the platform.
Well, also,
it happens all the time.
I think you should introduce.
They move on to another one, but
I think you should introduce hard content, DVDs and stuff, because stuff like Netflix are not going to give the right to a Netflix original movie to another streaming service. So once Creator comes off, that's not going to go back up somewhere else.
It can happen though, because like Lucifer, I think, did that start on Prime and then Netflix bought it? But
Lucifer was an FX show.
Yeah.
So it was already a network TV show the rights were yet to be
given
out.
Yeah, but didn't Amazon have the... Because wasn't it...
Amazon had the exclusive rights.
And it was considered an Amazon original. It's how they build it on. I didn't know it was a...
Yeah, that was an FX show to start with.
But they build it
so
as
the first 2 seasons or something were FX things. So there's a lot of...
Yeah, I think long term, we're probably going to end up in a situation we end up with most of these things where there's probably going to be... We're probably going to end up with Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and all the others will be subsumed by whatever ones.
Yeah.
And it might not be Netflix, it might be Paramount or HBO. Maybe HBO starts buying others. But most of these companies are owned by like bigger companies anyway. Like Hulu was a massive streaming service and Disney are like, yeah, all right, we'll have you.
Yeah.
So, and then there's going to be the issues of monopolising an industry with that. So
that
I'm shocked we're not already hitting that sort of territory.
Great quote
anyway.
Attributed to Rupert Murdoch, isn't there? Monopoly's a terrible thing until you have one.
Yeah, it's great for the person who has it.
Yeah. All them sticking with the media thing, the film and TV thing. Can we praise the marketing for Barbie and Oppenheimer? Sort of dueling, piggybacking each other. Mostly Barbie, but because the darker side of Oppenheimer prevents them from being too forward with their marketing.
Yeah.
But the way they've sort of like intertwined and have this kind of symbiotic
the thing
marketing
is, the fans
relationship.
Sort of did it for them.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
And they were just
all
like,
they had
cool,
to do
to
kick it off was to say we're releasing on the same day the lightest movie to exist in the year and the darkest movie to exist in the year, and it just was brilliant. And I mean, you've got Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie posed for a picture recently going to see Oppenheimer with their ticket to go and see Oppenheimer, and everyone was like, "Oh, fucking, let's get Cillian Murphy to do it. Let's get Cillian." And then Cillian Murphy posed with his picture to see Barbie.
Yeah, like he actually went in saw
It's
Barbie.
just kind of like I sort of love it.
No, it's great. It's almost like a breaking of the fourth wall in a way, isn't it? It's like a nod to the fans.
Because I can't remember the last time a movie had a really good marketing campaign.
Deadpool, the first Deadpool, I would say. I remember thinking it was really clever, like, because they did the whole Valentine's Day thing. Do you remember it was coming out Valentine's Day? And it got billed as a romance movie, and they did special trailers of just the romantic bits, and I think they nailed it.
But that was like 2016.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
That's just like 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, but like, I would probably watch Oppenheimer. I'm not going to
I was going
to
say, would you watch either? I would happily do a double billing.
But then saying that, I've seen a couple of clips of like, I think Ryan Gosling is a really underrated comedic actor.
He looks like he's killing it.
With Russell Crowe.
Oh, the other guys.
I fucking love that.
Yeah, it's
film.
the Shane Black film.
The way they bounce off of one another, and Russell Crowe again, really underrated actor.
Shane Black. If you want to watch a good Shane Black film, the one I always recommend is you may have seen it. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I haven't.
Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer, brilliant. Both of them. It's kind of like this film noir. There's like a death. A young woman's died.
Yeah.
And they're kind of both investigating it separately / together, and they obviously sort of like the other guys.
Rivalry.
It's like we don't like each other, but we've got to work together, and there's like a scene towards the end where they're being tortured, and Val Kilmer's like actively trying to get him to electrocute Robert Downey Jr.'s balls, and he's like, "Oh, do it, go for it. I don't care. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to. Do you know what? I'm so not going to tell you. Why don't you take him to his ball sack and see how much I'm not going to tell you?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Yeah, maybe we will." And they're like, "Yeah, do it. Fucking dare you."
I'm begging you.
But that is a really good. Honestly, I think you'll enjoy Kiss Kiss. If you like the other guys, you'll like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Okay.
Really good film. I don't know how I discovered it. I just found it on.
No, I think I've heard him talk about it. Robert Downey Jr.
Really good
I've
film.
Heard him talk about it.
It was in 2006 as well. So it was just as he was coming back from the whole drug thing.
Yeah, I think it was like one of his.
It was one of the things that gave.
Was
him
Mel Gibson involved in it as well?
I don't remember. I just remember those two, really.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a good film, though.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't see Barbie, but you would watch Oppenheimer?
I mean, like...
If I said to you, let's go and do a double billing, we'll go and see Oppenheimer in the morning, then we'll go and have some lunch. I'm not saying back to back, we'll make a day of it, then we'll go and have some lunch, do a bit of shopping, and then go and see Barbie. You would say no.
I don't know if I could do it, no. Like...
Oh, well, there goes what I was going to ask you at the end.
I think the cinema's too expensive for me to be willing to... part with cold hard cash for Barbie. Oppenheimer, I'd be more, but it's more, I think, my speed sort of thing. But yeah,
Fine. I just want to know where the line is.
So you would go and watch Barbie?
I wouldn't. Do you know why?
Good money.
Do you know why I would?
Because of the press.
Because of the success of this.
Because your game appreciates game as well.
Greta Gerwig was talking about. I saw her talking about Chris Nolan as well.
Yeah.
Because she said she quite liked to do what he did, making a big studio film and then making a film that's a bit more for her, doing that thing. Because she said, Chris went and made Batman.
Yeah.
And then he went and made The Prestige, and she said, I know that's not a small...
That is such a
she said,
film.
I know that's not a small film. She said, but, going from one to the other, both being as good as they are, she said, I'd quite like to do that with my career.
Yeah. I think Christopher Nolan's a brilliant director. I don't think there's...
My only criticism, he comes across...
I've not seen Tenet. That's the only one
I like Tenet. People are always like, it's so confusing. You don't know what it's like. No, it's not. If you watch the film, you can see where it's going. From about a third in, you're like, oh, yeah, cool, I get it.
Is it a dream at the end of Inception?
Is it a dream at the end of Inception? Don't know. What do you think?
No.
You don't think so?
Because it starts to wobble.
Yeah.
And I think that gives... And I've heard Christopher Nolan talk
It's very
about
leading.
He said it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
If you think it's a dream...
But that's my only thing with Christopher Nolan is sometimes he comes across like, I want to be the smartest man in the room. I want to make films that you don't understand. It's like, bro... Because are you aware of the Oppenheimer thing about the black and white and the colour?
No.
So, and I'm going to get this the wrong way round, but bear with, you'll get the concept. So, one of them, I think it's the colour scenes, are objective. They're what happened from what we know, and then anything in black and white
they've sort of
is subjective. No, it's subjective. It's from the perspective of Oppenheimer. So you're not seeing it as it happened. Or as it would have, you're seeing it how he's interpreted it. You're seeing his view on it all.
Right,
so, if, for example, if a character's being an absolute dick in black and white, they might not have actually been a dick, but he's just seeing them as being a dick. Whereas if they showed it in colour, it might just be perfectly fine. But that's kind of Chris Nolan's thing.
Yeah.
When he did Dunkirk, he's like, I'm going to do it over I'm going to do it over 3 time zones. One of the stories takes place over the space of a week, one takes place over the space of a day, and one takes place over the space of a couple of hours. And it's like, so this one's taken over a week, so day 1, day 2, day 3. And this one's taken a few hours. And this one's taken a few minutes. And you're like, fuck me, Chris, just Jesus, mate, sort it out.
Then Interstellar, you've got like black holes, dimensional
I feel
travel.
like he wants an Inception, Shutter Island. No, not Shutter Island. That I don't think that was him, was it?
No, that was Leo.
But Inception and Interstellar and Tenet and Dunkirk. You're kind of like, I get it, Chris. You're smart. You don't need to try and outsmart your audience.
He should maybe get involved with a bit of Rick and Morty. Do you know what I mean? Like get involved in some of the writing process.
Fuck the audience kind of thing.
Yeah, make this as trippy as possible.
But yeah, that's my only criticism of him. Is it's like sometimes he tries too hard to come across as smart. And the Prestige as well. You look and it's like.
Do you know what though? That film, I didn't know what to expect when I sat down and watched it, and it's a rare example of a film where I didn't see any of the twists coming.
Yeah, it's good.
And I'm not going to say what happens in it because I think anyone who hasn't seen it should go. Like Hugh Jackman's brilliant in it, Christian Bale's brilliant in it. It's got Michael Caine. Do you know what I mean?
A lot of them do. Yeah. He likes a bit of Michael Caine.
Like a bit of Michael.
And he likes a bit of Cillian.
Yeah, I do like it when a director has their guys. Do you know what I mean? Like this guy's just like a break in case of emergency. He can do a job.
It's what I like about like people like Kevin Smith and James Gunn and that, where they're kind of like, people will be like, you only ever hire your friends, and it's like, yeah,
because I like working with them.
I'm going to be on set with these people for 12, 14 hours a day.
Backwards cap.
Yeah. And the shorts.
Yeah. I really like Kevin Smith.
You're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to be working with these people for like 12, 13 hours a day for like 3 months. Yeah, a couple of years ago. Oh, listen, bro, I know Kevin Smith.
Okay,
I went to a screening of
I've not seen it.
Bob.
I've not seen any of his films.
Return or whatever. And it was a Q&A up in London, up at the Prince Albert Theatre in Whitechapel.
Oh, wow.
I'm such a big fan of Kevin Smith. So
I don't think we've ever really discussed
I remember
Kevin
finding Clerks and just being like, oh, this is like perfect indie. This is the ultimate indie film.
He just smashed it straight off the bat.
It's so good. I mean, yeah, just all of it.
Yeah. I can't remember what I was referencing Kevin Smith about now.
No, I sort of brought Kevin Smith in because I sort of said they work with their friends.
Yeah, I know. What I was going to say about him is I heard him talking about working with Johnny Depp. Because he did a movie called Walrus, which is about this like sailor with this ridiculous nose, and And he said just working with him, because first of all, he didn't expect him to want to do the movie. And he said their kids go to the same school. So he sort of, fuck it, I'm going to send him a text. Because someone said to him, if you could get anyone,
who would you get?
Who would you get? And he'd be like, Johnny Depp. But obviously, it was like, fuck it, I'm going to text him. And he's like, hi, I'm so-and-so's dad. Can I send you a script? I'd love to work with you. And he said, yeah, send it over. And he sent it over. He said, a couple of days went by. I didn't hear anything. He said, he just got a response being like, this is something I could swim around in. And he was like, oh my God, he's interested. And then he asked when they were filming, and he was like, I can't, I've got something else on. And he was like, well, I'll tell you what, we only need you for X amount of filming. We can put that
right at the end kind of thing, yeah.
And he was like, are you willing to do that for me? He's like, bro, you're fucking Johnny Depp. Of course we'll do that for you.
No, I love Kevin Smith. I'm such a big fan.
But he said, like, the first day of filming comes, and he was like, he's in the prosthetics chair, and he's got this ridiculous nose. And he said he walks in, and he's like, Johnny, how you doing? And he was like, what do you think my nose looks like? And he said, and it was just big and long. He's like, looks like a dick, Johnny. He's like, yeah, it does. He's like, should we put a massive vein down the side and a little slit on the front of the nose just to accentuate it? And he was like, Johnny, you can do whatever the fuck you like, mate. Yeah, of course we will. He said, and the first shot of the movie is of the dick on his face.
Yeah, that's good. That's
but
good.
he just said, like, there was nothing off limits. It was all...
And he's good for podcasts.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so brilliant and ironic. And the irony is not lost on him, by the way, that
he's one of the founding fathers of podcasts.
The only character that he's ever played... sort of, well, he's played a few. He's been like Die Hard 4 and stuff. Yeah. But the only character he's famous for.
Yes, he was in Die Hard 4.
That, do you know?
Justin Long was in that.
Do you know they got him to direct a film called Cop Out. I think it is with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan, because of how Bruce Willis is apparently really difficult on Die Hard 4, but because they're both like New Jersey boys or whatever, he was able to, do this. And then he said when it was actually time to direct Cop Out, he was like, Bruce Willis was their dick. He was like, Tracy Morgan did everything. I couldn't fault him. He said, but Bruce was just so difficult. But the character he's most famous for is Silent Bob, a character who says nothing for 90% of the movie and then gets 2 lines. And, there's one bit in one of the films where Jay's like, motherfucker says like 2 lines in his whole life and suddenly thinks there's some prophetic shit that we should all be fucking worshipping the masses of. And yet he's probably the biggest talker on the planet.
Oh God, yeah! But he makes his living from doing screenings, doing Q&As.
The screening ended, by the way, about 10:15. The Q&A started when I went. Yeah, he came out. So he introduced it, and then he came out and did a Q&A.
Yeah,
he was there for, I'm not kidding, 3 hours.
He loves it. Like you hear him talk about it, he loves it.
He was asked 4 questions.
Jesus,
and he just went with every one of them.
He's been on loads of podcasts.
I missed my fucking train for that shit.
And he was on Joe Rogan once, and this was the moment that sort of won me over with him the most, because I hadn't seen any of his other stuff. I'd only seen him on podcasts.
I didn't think we were going to go on a Kevin Smith big up.
No, me neither, but I'm all here for it. But they started talking about their dogs, and both of them started crying because the dogs had passed away. And it was just so nice to see 2 grown men on one of the biggest podcasts in the planet, not afraid to have a cry about their lost pets. I thought it was brilliant.
I would love to get Kevin Smith on.
Oh, mate.
I mean, we would have to do nothing, by the way. We would just do morning, Kev, and then just go.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about.
Just say nothing.
Yeah.
He'd just go.
Just maybe the odd poke here and there to be like, what about,
Still just to pop in and go, we're still here.
Yeah.
It's still on a podcast.
Yeah. But no, I mean, look, he's one of the dream guests, I would say, actually.
100%.
He's just everything I've seen about him, he just seems like a solid human being.
No, I love him.
And also, he's one of the godfathers of podcasting.
Yeah.
He's one of the OGs.
He was really got out early on that.
One of the things I find hilarious is him going on massive podcasts and being like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
He's like, you guys have got facilities. Do you know what I mean? He's like, I'm just doing it in my spare room. Like,
I did the thing as well for a brief while where he was doing like a watch along on Facebook. But this must have been a while ago because I still had Facebook. I was still on Facebook. But he was doing a thing where he was just like, I'm going to get stoned and watch a movie and you guys can just watch it with me. Yeah. We'll do live. I'll live stream it and we'll just all chat about it and we'll chat in the comments and stuff. And it's like, why the fuck not? You were just living your best life.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, and he's got healthy since having his heart attack. He's lost a lot of weight, hasn't he?
Yeah, he did lose a lot of weight. That heart attack really changed him. He was doing a stand-up show.
Anyone who doesn't know who Kevin Smith is, honestly, just pick any podcast he's on. He does stuff like hot boxing with Mike Tyson. There's all sorts he's been on. He's just good value.
Yeah, he's great value. Like I said, Clerks, great film. Go and check it out. That was his first film.
Need to sit.
Do you know how he financed that?
Oh no, I have heard him talk about it, but
he took out 27. He maxed out credit cards. He took 27. He made it for $27,000. He also wrote off a car when his car got written off in flood damage, and he used the money from that for the payout from that, combined with the maxed out credit cards to make this film. Took it to, I think it was Sundance.
Yeah,
and it was like, do you know what? Even if I've never do anything, even if this goes nowhere, I made a film.
Yeah.
And you see him now when he's directed episodes of The Flash and Supergirl, and he's obviously written and directed his own stuff, and he's like, I can't believe I do this for a living.
No.
And he's like, I'm the guy who made Clerks. I made a film about a couple of guys making a shit ton of dick jokes.
Yeah.
And here I am.
Yeah. No, it's a good life if you can get
Not
it.
a bad life.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to wrap through?
I think we're all good, bro. I think
kind of went on for a Kevin Smith tangent.
Yeah, but I'm fine with it. I think we'll just call the episode Kevin Smith is a Legend.
Kevin Smith is a legend.
Yeah.
Please come on, Kev.
Maybe see if I can find a photo of him like pointing.
Well, do you know? Are you aware of? Are you aware of? Do you know the thumbs up Jesus?
No.
The meme of like the
Probably.
Jesus. There's like a thing that's from a Kevin Smith film.
Is it?
In Dogma, which sadly is a lot of the characters and stuff up because it was a Miramax film. A lot of the characters and stuff are owned by Harvey Weinstein, which is why he's talked about. I've wanted to make a sequel for a long time, but it's the rights to a lot of the characters.
Then? Is that the one with Alan Rickman in?
He wrote and directed it. Yeah.
Oh wow, fair enough.
Yeah, and he's spoken about working with Alan Rickman and stuff. But he's that Jesus thing was was like in the film the church have tried to like rebrand and be cool.
Yeah.
And so they do thumbs up Jesus, and it's caused such an uproar from the like Christian nuts in America that part of it, again going just put full circle to a campaign. He went out and joined them on the picket line. So he went out and picketed his own film. And it was brilliant press. It was brilliant free press.
I bet it was.
That
and they had no idea who he was.
No, because he's just a guy in jean shorts turning up in a hockey shirt going like, fucking, can you believe this shit?
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah. No, I'm on board. I'm a Kevin Smith. I'm converted,
me too.
bro. I'm on
Good
board
man.
with him. And we will have him on the pod one day.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Manifested.
I feel like if he's just such a busy man, but I feel like he's so cool.
Yeah.
That if we were able to get through to him, he would just say,
yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you come to me or whatever.
Yeah. Well, just do it on Zoom or something.
Bro, get on Twitter, just at him.
Kev, we've done an episode
hopefully he's nicer than Joe Lycett and Manscaped, who are both dead to us.
Yeah, no. Joe who?
No idea.
That's what I thought.
Somebody I just used to know.
That's what I thought. I'll tell you what, he's making me question my support for Pride.
Yeah.
That fucking Joe Lycett.
They're dodgy people.
I'm going to grow out all my chest hair now. Fuck Manscaped too.
Yeah. I'm never shaving my balls again.
Nope. Not once. Everyone's experiencing the jungle now.
Yeah. Welcome to the jungle, folks.
Yeah, that was a film that never went anywhere.
Right, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And Jake, tell them where they can do that.
They can do that on Twitter at Swords Crossing, on Instagram and TikTok at Crossing Swords _podcast.
Yeah.
You can find us just on Facebook at Crossing Swords. You can find us in our private email, crossingswords19@gmail.com. If you've just got any ideas for episodes, questions you want to ask us, agony aunts you want to send us, that all come through there or through our DMs are always open. You can slide into those bad boys anytime.
Every time.
And other than that, I think that's it. We're on YouTube. You can find that on the links. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, the channel's link will be in the bio to every episode.
Yeah.
So get on
Covers it.
Don't be a wanker. Share, like and subscribe.
Be cool. Be like Kev.
Be like Kev.